A very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley reiterates government's commitment towards tracking invisible money, praises economic reforms and says measures like demonetization and GST will have a substantial impact on growth prospects. President Pranab Mukherjee watches RSTV presentation Raag Desh at a special screening at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Star cast of the film join a unique parade down Rajpath. Israeli-Palestinian violence peaks over increased restrictions at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa compound. 6 people are killed in clashes with police after they installed metal detectors at entry points. And US President Donald Trump accepts White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer's resignation, names Anthony Scaramucci as the new White House Communications Officer. Demonetization and GST will make cash transactions a lot more difficult in India, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said today at the Delhi Economics Conclave. He stressed that while demonetization has led to greater digitization, GST is bound to bring in more transparency in the taxation process.
At the Delhi Economics Conclave 2017, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley praised the recent reforms in India's economic sector. He said reforms like demonetization and GST will have a substantial impact on India's growth prospects.
I do believe that the net impact of the demonetization exercise coupled with the GST exercise, which is going to make generation of cash a lot more difficult, will certainly lead to greater compliances, greater digitization, and already the first signs of greater digitization and expansion of the tax base, both for direct and indirect taxes, is already visible.
Jaitley also reiterated the government's commitment towards tracking invisible money.
One easy format of conversion had always been the shell companies, a Benami route which was followed through multi-layering of companies, and then introducing cash and then bringing it back as your own investment. This had almost become a standard operating procedure. And this was not only used by people in businesses, it has been used to round-trip corruption money by politicians, by civil servants and others. And I think not only the detection of this, but the decision to invoke the Benami property law in acquiring these assets by the state is going to be a big deterrent.
The conclave was also attended by Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, who is on a 3-day visit to India.
Progress made in overcoming a fragmented tax system, and then one that also involved multiple layers of tax for businesses through the GST reforms, is impressive. Not just from an economic perspective, but from a political perspective. The restoration of macroeconomic stability, both monetary and fiscal, is impressive.
The day-long conclave, hosted by the Economic Division of the Finance Ministry, also included a discussion on the country's economic affairs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The second day of the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar International Conference called Quest for Equity concluded today in Bengaluru. The 3-day conference was hosted by Karnataka government, which is being seen as an effort by the Congress to reclaim the legacy of Ambedkar.
The second day of the B.R. Ambedkar Conference in Bengaluru on Saturday was focused on ensuring greater representation for Dalits in legislative bodies. Speakers addressed various topics including social movements, transformation, democracy, secularism and cultural pluralism. Speaking at the conference, former UGC chief and noted Dalit scholar Professor Sukhdev Thorat emphasized a review of the electoral process to promote equity and ending marginalization of Dalits. He also stressed the need for independent representation of Dalits in elected bodies.
Now, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was for separate electorate. So, we can slightly modify it or we can keep it, but separate electorate which enable to send the scheduled caste representative who is independent in the parliament is the only solution. And therefore, we will have to build up this demand as a matter of policy of reforming the existing system.
The three-day conference is premised on the belief that Dalits, Adivasis and minorities are being denied opportunities under the Modi government. Over 300 speakers from India and overseas have gathered to discuss equity for them at a time when the BJP is stamping its ideological agenda on the national polity. Martin Luther King III, human rights advocate and son of Martin Luther King Jr., who led the civil rights movement in the United States, inaugurated the conference. Speaking to Rajya Sabha TV, he drew a parallel between the political atmosphere of his own country and India.
Well, I attempted to make some comparisons yesterday, as you stated, particularly around the issue of lynchings and mistreatment of minorities. The same kind of thing happening in the United States because of the America First stating of President Trump. And that means two different things. To black people, that means one thing. To whites, or some whites, that means something else.
The conference will conclude with a document that will be known as the Bengaluru Declaration to address social justice. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Sanjay Kothari, chairman of the Public Enterprises Selection Board, has been appointed as the secretary to President-elect Ramnath Kovind. Senior journalist Ashok Malik was named as press secretary to Kovind. Senior Gujarat Cadre Office Service Officer Bharat Lal will be his joint secretary. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, cleared these appointments for an initial period of 2 years. Kothari, a 1978 batch IAS officer of Haryana cadre, retired in June last year as Department of Personnel and Training Secretary. Ashok Malik is at present Distinguished Fellow at Observer Research Foundation, a policy think tank. Seven policemen were injured in Kashmir's Ganderbal district on Saturday when they were allegedly thrashed by army personnel at its stop and kept proceeding towards Ganderbal. The angered army men allegedly barged into the Gund police station, ransacked it, damaging the records kept there. Police have filed a case against the army personnel. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has dismissed National Conference's Farooq Abdullah's statement on third-party mediation in Kashmir, saying that it is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan.
अमेरिका हो, चाइना हो, वो अपने काम संभाले। आपको मालूम है जहाँ जहाँ इन्होंने हाथ डाला, अमेरिका ने हाथ डाला। आप अफगानिस्तान को देखिए, सीरिया को देखिए, आप इस वक्त जो है इराक को देखिए। चाइना का अपना मामला तिब्बत में उलझा हुआ है। तो मेरा ख्याल है हमारे पास एक नक्शा है कि एक जंग के बाद भी हमें एक दूसरे के साथ बात करनी पड़ती है इंडिया पाकिस्तान को। हमारे वाजपेयी जी ने लाहौर डिक्लेरेशन हमारे पास है, शिमला एग्रीमेंट हमारे पास है। हमें आपस में मिल बैठ के बात करनी है। तो अमेरिका, तुर्किस्तान और इंग्लिस्तान क्या करेगा हमारा?
And now let's take a look at some other national news updates in Nationwide. Parliament will host a farewell program for outgoing President Pranab Mukherjee tomorrow. Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan requested all the members to attend the function. The program will start at 5:30 in the evening and will be addressed by the Speaker and Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari, who is also the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Prime Minister Narendra Modi too will be attending the function. The Special Task Force of Uttar Pradesh Police arrested Chota Rajan gang sharpshooter Khan Mubarak after a brief encounter in Lucknow. The STF also recovered huge quantity of firearms from his possession. The police team has recovered 2 pistols of 7.62 bore, 3 pistols of .32 bore, 1 pistol of 9 mm, 4 country-made guns and 2 country-made pistols, along with huge quantity of cartridges from the spot. At least 1 labourer was killed and 2 others injured after an under-construction flyover fell on the railway track in Bihar's Sasaram district. Rescue operations are underway to help those trapped under the debris. The incident took place when the labourers were carrying out work on the overbridge. The injured labourers have been rushed to the nearby hospital undergoing treatment. Nine people, including 6 women, were killed and 22 injured when a bus carrying pilgrims from Gujarat overturned near Udaipur. Sources said the accident took place near Nehla village, where the driver of the private bus lost control while trying to avoid a two-wheeler. The bus had started its journey from Ahmedabad last night. It was on a 16-day tour of religious places, including Pushkar and Haridwar. Non-executive staff of the Delhi Metro threatened to bring train services to a halt from Monday if their demands, including a pay hike, were not met with. The staff have been protesting since yesterday, wearing black bands and sloganeering against the management in between their shifts. As of now, there has been no disruption in metro services. President Pranab Mukherjee watched the much-awaited Bollywood film Rag Desh at a special screening at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on Saturday. Several other dignitaries were present at the screening, which was held at an auditorium inside Rashtrapati Bhavan. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, P.J. Kurian, and some political leaders also saw the film. The film stars Kunal Kapoor, Mohit Marwa, and Mridula Murali were also in attendance, along with director Tigmanshu Dhulia.
I think they're ready to surrender.
आईएनए की बागी फौजियों पर अंग्रेज देशद्रोह का मुकदमा चलाएंगे।
उन तीनों के बचने के चांसेस कम हैं।
ये कोई आम केस नहीं, कोर्ट मार्शल है। बोला भाई, ये केस आप कांग्रेस के लिए नहीं, सुभाष बोस के लिए लड़ी।
Well, the movie is based on the Red Fort trials of 3 heroes of the Azad Hind Fauj: Major General Shahnawaz Khan, Colonel Prem K. Sehgal, and Colonel Gulbakhsh Singh Dhillon. The Indian National Army was set up by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose to liberate India from Britishers. The British government held the trials to declare the INA soldiers traitors in 1945. Rag Desh revisits the epic trials that paved the way for India's freedom 2 years later. The Rajya Sabha TV presentation has been produced by its CEO Gurdeep Singh Sappal. The film is based on Subhash Chandra Bose's Azad Hind Fauj. Our correspondent Navikram Singh spoke to the film's producer Gurdeep Singh Sappal and director Tigmanshu Dhulia.
राग देश एक फिल्म, एक ऐतिहासिक दस्तावेज, एक सच्ची कहानी जो अभी तक आम आदमी के जहन से अछूती है। राज्यसभा टीवी इस पर एक खास फिल्म लेकर आया है। हमारे साथ हैं फिल्म के प्रोड्यूसर, राज्यसभा टीवी के सीईओ गुरदीप सिंह सप्पल। आइए बात करते हैं सबसे पहले गुरदीप सप्पल साहब से। सर, इस फिल्म को लेकर तमाम लोगों में उम्मीदें हैं, किस तरीके की फिल्म है और ख़ास तौर पर राष्ट्रपति भवन में इसकी स्क्रीनिंग है, किस तरीके की
फिल्म है, फिल्म में एंटरटेनमेंट है, फिल्म में मज़ा है और फिल्म इतिहास के उस पन्ने को खोलती है जिसको लोग भूल चुके हैं, जिसे धूल पड़ चुकी है। आईएनए की कहानी जिसने देश के लिए लड़ाई लड़ी, सुभाष चंद्र बोस जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ी, और आज जो रायसीना हिल पे हम लोग खड़े हैं, राष्ट्रपति जी ने समय दिया है, यहाँ पे आईएनए की अभी एक परेड होने जा रही है। ये एक्नॉलेजमेंट है उस कंट्रीब्यूशन का, योगदान का जो नेताजी की फ़ौज ने देश के लिए किया था। फाइनली 70 साल बाद आज देश उस बात को एहसानमंद है कि देश के लिए ये लोग लड़े और देश की आज़ादी के लिए इन्होंने अपना योगदान दिया।
आज़ादी की बात आपने की कि देशभक्ति को लेकर तमाम बातें होती हैं, देशभक्ति को लेकर कई और फिल्में भी बनी हैं। सबसे पहले समझना चाहूँगा कि देशभक्ति है क्या और इस फिल्म में किस तरीके से आपने देशभक्ति की भावना को दिखाया है।
हम उस दौर में हैं जब देशभक्ति का मतलब फेसबुक पे या व्हाट्सएप पे कुछ पोस्ट करना माना जाने लगा है। तो ऐसे दौर में जब देशभक्ति में सिर्फ सवाल पूछे जाते हैं कि तुमने देश के लिए क्या किया, ये फिल्म वो बताती है कि हम देश के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं। क्योंकि ये समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि देश है क्या। एक आज़ाद मुल्क है हम लोग, अपनी सरकार है, चुनी सरकारें हैं, और ऐसे दौर में देशभक्ति के सिर्फ 2 ही मायने हैं। एक कि हम अपना काम, जो भी हमारा काम है, उसको ईमानदारी से करें और अपने बाकी देशवासियों के अधिकारों के लिए खड़े हों, उसके लिए लड़ाई करें। देशभक्ति आज के ज़माने में यही है। और आज़ाद हिंद फ़ौज यही कहानी है, क्योंकि इसमें जो लोग थे आज़ादी के आंदोलन में, कौन लोग थे? सुभाष चंद्र बोस ICS पास किए थे, गांधी जी बैरिस्टर थे, नेहरू बैरिस्टर थे, शहनवाज, ढिल्लों, सहगल तीनों फौजी अफसर थे अंग्रेज़ों के ज़माने में। तो ये इलीट थे, इनके पास सब कुछ था। ये सब कुछ छोड़कर देश के लिए लगे थे। इन्होंने देश से ये नहीं पूछा कि देश मेरे लिए क्या कर रहा है। इन्होंने ये सवाल नहीं पूछा कि तुम देश के लिए क्या कर रहे हो। इन्होंने कहा कि मैं देश के लिए जो कर रहा हूँ वो करूँगा। और मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? क्योंकि मैं अपने देशवासियों के अधिकारों के लिए लड़ रहा हूँ, अपने अधिकार के लिए नहीं लड़ रहा हूँ। तो ऐसे दौर में जब देशभक्ति को फेसबुक तक सीमित कर दिया है, ये फिल्म देशभक्ति के जो परिभाषा है उसको फिर से ढूंढने की कोशिश है।
हमारे साथ हैं फिल्म के डायरेक्टर तिग्मांशु धूलिया। तिग्मांशु धूलिया अपनी बेहतरीन फिल्मों के लिए जाने जाते हैं। सर, ये एक अलग तरीके की फिल्म है। इस फिल्म को बनाते हुए, क्योंकि इस फिल्म का संसद में ट्रेलर लॉन्च हुआ, राष्ट्रपति भवन में स्क्रीनिंग है, इस फिल्म को बनाते हुए आपको कैसा लगा और आज जब ये रिलीज़ होने जा रही है तब कैसा लगा?
देखिए, बहुत गौरव की बात है कि एक तो ये इस फिल्म को बनाना ही, क्योंकि ये तभी संभव हो पाई है फिल्म क्योंकि इसमें गुरदीप सिंह सफल साहब ने हमारे साथ थे। तभी अगर कोई बहुत बड़ा प्रोड्यूसर मुंबई का होता और मैं भी बहुत बड़ी पिक्चर बनाता 100 करोड़ की, तो भी यहाँ पे रायसीना हिल में खड़े होकर के पार्लियामेंट में मैं अपना ट्रेलर और राष्ट्रपति जी को फिल्म ना दिखा पाता। ये फिल्म और जो आज हम हो रही है सामने, ये मैं कभी ज़िंदगी में कभी नहीं भूल पाऊंगा।
सर, फिल्म में किस तरीके का पुट है, फिल्म में किस तरीके के डायलॉग्स हैं, जो आप दर्शकों से क्या कहना चाहेंगे कि इस फिल्म को देखने क्यों जाए?
ये एक अच्छी हॉलीवुड फिल्म जैसे होती है, जैसे हॉलीवुड करता है, अपने इतिहास के पन्ने से कोई चैप्टर उठाता है, उसको एक इंटरेस्टिंग, मनोरंजन ढंग से, रोचक ढंग से लोगों को दिखाता है, वो फिल्में चलती है। हमारे देश में ऐसा होता नहीं। हमारे देश में हिस्टोरिकल बनाएंगे, उसमें भी नाच गाना करना शुरू हो जाता है। तो ये थोड़ा उस तरह से हिंदी फिल्मों का जिस तरह से चलन रहा है, उससे थोड़ा डिफरेंट फिल्म है।
कितने दिनों में इसकी पूरी फिल्म की तैयारी पूरी हो पाई? प्रोडक्शन कितने दिनों में पूरा?
देखिए, 1.5 साल लगा इस फिल्म के रिसर्च और स्क्रिप्ट लिखने में
जी।
और फिर पिछले साल 3 जुलाई को मेरा जन्मदिन होता है, उस दिन मैंने पहला दिन शूटिंग का शुरू किया और 28 जुलाई को रिलीज हो रही है। तो देखिए, 2.5 साल में बनी फिल्म है।
Well, before the screening, the two lead actors of the film, Kunal Kapoor and Mohit Marwa, along with director Tigmanshu Dhulia, rode in open jeeps to Rashtrapati Bhavan. They were led by a group of men dressed as soldiers of the Indian National Army, marching to drum beats towards Rashtrapati Bhavan. Listen in to what the actors had to say about the film, which hits silver screens on the 28th of July.
मेरा मानना है कि ना सिर्फ लोगों को बहुत ही एंटरटेनिंग और एंगेजिंग पिक्चर लगेगी, लेकिन इतिहास का एक बहुत ही अहम पन्ना उनके सामने आएगा।
फिल्म में जो राग देश है, इसमें प्रेम सहगल का किरदार निभा रहा हूँ और ये 3 जो लड़के थे जिन पे रेड फोर्ट ट्रायल हुआ था, उनमें से एक ये थे और ये एक हिंदू परिवार के थे, एक अच्छे खाते पीते परिवार के थे। उसके बावजूद भी इन्हें सब कुछ छोड़ दिया, अपने परिवार को, अपनी लग्जरीज, अपनी जितनी कंफर्ट थे, उन सबको छोड़ के इंडियन नेशनल आर्मी ज्वाइन की, देश की आजादी के लिए लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए।
All right, let's head on to some international news now. And the Pentagon has said that India and China should engage in direct dialogue to reduce tension over the military standoff in Doklam. Defense Department spokesperson Gary Ross said that the US encourages India and China to engage in dialogue without any coercive aspects. However, he did refuse to take sides on whether the US fears tension to escalate between India and China. The US State Department had also made similar statements on the issue over the past week. The standoff in Doklam is being seen as part of the same tactic to change the status quo in the area. India has also adopted a strong tone against the Chinese unilateral action. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is expected to discuss the issue with his Chinese counterpart when he heads to Beijing for a meeting of BRICS NSAs next week. Three Palestinians died in clashes in Jerusalem and 3 Israelis were killed in a stabbing attack at West Bank settlement as tensions turned to violence over the Holy Land's most contested shrine. Palestine has since ordered the suspension of all official contact with Israel until it removes the new security measures.
6 people were killed on Friday in the bloodiest spate of Israeli-Palestinian violence in years as anger boiled over increased Israeli restrictions at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa compound. 3 Palestinians were killed in clashes with the police after Israel installed metal detectors at entry points to the noble sanctuary Temple Mount compound in Jerusalem's Old City. Hours after the violence, 3 Israelis were stabbed to death and a 4th was wounded in a Jewish settlement in West Bank. The attacker was shot, but his condition is not known.
Tonight, we arrived on the scene and we found 3 patients in critical condition. We immediately started life-saving procedures. In addition, there was another wounded person who had a stabbing in their back, and she was transported to the hospital in stable condition.
Israeli security forces violently clamped down on Friday's demonstrations, firing live ammunition, tear gas and rubber-coated bullets at crowds of Palestinians protesting the new measures, which include the barring of Muslim men under the age of 50 from the holy site. Muslim leaders call the metal detectors a part of a purported Israeli campaign to expand its control over the shrine, a claim Israel denies.
It's a gradual process of taking control, a gradual process of preventing Palestinians from having the right for free prayer, the right to their most holy sites, and the right to their old city.
These magnetometers should be removed. Why should be removed? Because it's an attempt to say that it's an Israeli sovereignty upon Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, East, and Al-Aqsa are under occupation.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas ordered the suspension of all official contact with Israel until it removes the metal detectors from the holy site.
فإنني وباسم القيادة الفلسطينية أعلن أولا تجميد الاتصالات مع دولة الاحتلال وعلى المستويات كافة.
The United Nations has condemned the killings and called for an investigation into the incident. Several countries, including Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, also condemned Israel's increased control. Israel tightened its grip on the compound on July 14th after 2 Israeli security officers were killed in an alleged attack by 3 Palestinians, who were themselves killed by Israeli police following the violence. Questions have now arisen over whether the steps have brought security and order to the area or triggered a new round of conflict between the two sides. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to the US, where Sean Spicer has resigned as the White House press secretary, a big shakeup for the White House press team. United States President Donald Trump on Saturday sent a series of tweets praising Spicer. Spicer reportedly, though, stepped down because he is unhappy with President Trump's appointment of a new communications director.
US President Donald Trump on Saturday praised outgoing White House press secretary Sean Spicer on Twitter. In a series of tweets, Trump called Sean Spicer a wonderful person with a bright future. Trump's message came after the White House's official announcement that the president had accepted Spicer's resignation.
I'd like to read a statement from the president on the resignation of Press Secretary Sean Spicer. I am grateful for Sean's work on behalf of my administration and the American people. I wish him continued success as he moves on to pursue new opportunities. Just look at his great television ratings. Sean will continue to serve the administration through August.
Spicer quit hours after Trump named Anthony Scaramucci as the new White House communications director. Spicer's deputy, Sarah Sanders, was named the new press secretary. Spicer resigned on Friday, reportedly in protest at an organizational shakeup. Reports say Spicer was unhappy with Trump's appointment of a new communications director. According to reports, Spicer had been filling that role temporarily and wanted the job for himself. However, hours after his resignation, Spicer said it was an honor and privilege to serve this president in this country.
Honor and a privilege to serve this president in this country. I will never be able to thank the president enough for what he has been able to allow me to do. I just think it was in the best interest of our communications department, of our press organization, to not have too many cooks in the kitchen. And my decision was to recommend to the president that I give Anthony and Sarah a clean slate to start.
Newly named White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci and Sarah Sanders addressed media at the White House. Scaramucci praised Spicer, calling him a true American patriot.
Thank personally Sean Spicer, not only on behalf of myself, the president, the administration, but Sean is a true American patriot. He's a military serviceman. He's got a great family, and he's done an amazing job. This is obviously a difficult situation to be in. And I applaud his efforts here, and I love the guy, and I wish him well, and I hope he goes on to make a tremendous amount of money.
Spicer's resignation marked the end of one of the most tumultuous tenures for a White House press secretary. The shakeup comes amid several investigations into alleged Russian meddling in last year's US presidential election and whether Trump's campaign team colluded with Moscow. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And here are more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. An errant US airstrike confirmed by the Pentagon killed 12 Afghan National Police officers and injured 2 others. The US confirmed that the airstrike on Security Forces compound took place during a US-supported operation against Taliban insurgents in the area. Also, the US offered its condolences to the families of the security forces who were killed. NATO and US troops are in Helmand to assist Afghan troops. Pentagon Chief Jim Mattis has said that he believes Islamic State Chief Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is still alive despite various claims that he was killed. There were persistent rumors that Baghdadi died in recent months. With a $25 million US bounty on his head, Baghdadi has kept a low profile but was rumored to move regularly throughout ISIS-held territories in Iraq and Syria. Lebanon's Hezbollah and the Syrian army launched an offensive to drive Islamist insurgents from their last foothold on the Syrian-Lebanese border. The offensive killed at least 23 al-Nusra militants and at least 5 Hezbollah fighters. Hezbollah's role has drawn criticism from its Lebanese political opponents, including Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri. Venezuela's opposition-led Congress appointed alternative judges to the country's Supreme Court, whose current pro-government members have been a bedrock of support for leftist President Nicolas Maduro. The top court has warned that the naming of the alternate judges is illegal and they could be jailed. Even so, the government will not allow the congressionally appointed judges to unseat those already sitting on the Supreme Court. That's it on the news tonight. Thank you for joining us.